everybody! Welcome back to Northernlion, Place of Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. Good mojo on the random, please. Some of y'all ain't been giving you your mojo. That's how I end up getting these Lilith runs. Azazel. Long time no see. Haven't done an Azazel run in like 3 or 4 months at least. 88v3 BGMD. Well, you know, I could act like that Lilith run that we had, which actually turned out to be very strong, but took a long time to get there. I mean, I could act like that was very recent, but honestly, it was like literally just about 8 hours ago. I gotta lower my volume. But man, that really took it out of me. In, you know, the interim period between that episode and this episode. Oh. Your boy did the NLSS, did my co-op show with Kate, recorded a Slay the Spire episode, and, I mean, didn't really eat, like, a lunch today, which I know I talked about in the last episode. Lunch is, like, my favorite meal. Here's the thing, I need to go grocery shopping, which I should be doing instead of recording this episode, but then we got, like, a busy week and PAX is coming up, so, like, the backlog is very important, and it's how it always starts, you know? The road to heck is paved with good intentions. You start to be like, I'm on like a good routine, and then I hate this, by the way. You're on a good routine, and then you're like, I've got a good excuse to not be on the routine today, and then the next day you're like, I got a not so good excuse to not be on the routine today, and then before you know it, it's already over. So we had promised ourselves that we didn't have to take experimental treatment anymore, but Azazel starts with 0 HP, so I do not mind. Now he has 1 HP. Which is not necessarily great, because it did cost us Rate of Fire. But his Rate of Fire still seems pretty okay. I hate having a day without a lunch, to be honest. It happens sometimes, you know, if I wake up late, I'll eat a breakfast, I'll start recording, and then the thing with the Isaac episodes, you might think it's easy to claw out, you know, a 15-minute lunch break, and it is, because I make my own hours. I could always just be like, sorry, the NLSS is starting like 5 minutes late, but I don't like doing that. It's happened before, but, you know, I like to be on time. Oh, I'm very protective of my time slot. Take me out of here. A fool. Time slot sounds a little naughty when you think about it, but you know, that's low-level humor. I'm not going down that road today. But the thing is, sometimes you have an Isaac episode. I've been doing this. I'm probably the most skilled Isaac scheduler you could ever meet. Because I'm the only person on Earth who's been doing it this long in a YouTube format, at least English language, that I know of. I know there are other Isaac content creators, I'm just saying, for long-form stuff. You know? I always have a hard cap, almost every single day, of, you know, when I gotta fit something in. You know, I gotta be done by 2, I gotta be done by 3, I gotta be done by 5, etc., etc. And every Isaac run is its own beast. Some of them are, you know, 20 minutes long. And you go, well, I really expected it to be 40 minutes. Can I sneak in a 25-minute episodes afterwards before the NLSS? Probably not. Do I try to do it sometimes anyway? Yeah. Or you might say, you know, end it early. End it as early as possible and try to do another one. Or you could, you know, throw in a hush fight, for example. Gives you an extra few minutes of buffer time, and now you got a long episode. I'm not complaining, by the way. I'm just saying. I think I eat like all animals, you know? I'm a grazer, yes. I am like a squirrel, sure. If you were like, hey, NL, you can only eat 1 meal a day, would you be okay with that? I think I would adjust relatively quickly. I would eat because I would be, you know, starving. When I woke up, I would eat just an unbelievably huge and disgusting meal. I was gonna say, that had to be the secret room. You know, I would eat 2,000 calories in a single sitting, feel bad for probably an hour, and then just go throughout the rest of my day, I think. Now, if you were like, hey, could you eat 6 meals a day? Already done it. For real. When I left my freshman year of university, and I moved back home for the summer, I was like, you know what? Free from the temptations of a modern collegiate life, it'd be really cool if I could gain, like, you know, maybe 10 to 15 pounds of muscle. To do that, you know, you calculate the, you know, basal metabolic rate, and you're like, I need to eat, like, you know, preferably like 700 to 1,000 calories of clean food over and above this. Had to eat like 6 times a day. And you know what? I got used to it. And it ended up being my doom because now I'm still used to it. If I could go back to a 3-meal-a-day satisfaction, I would do it. I would say, hey, kid, don't worry. Just continue being a little scrawny. Not even scrawny, just like average. Don't worry so much about, you know, what's your deadlift going to be in second year. That doesn't... It's not going to work out like you think it's going to work out, you know? You're going to end up eating a brick of cheese every 3 days. Still, like, doing okay, I'm just saying. Once your body gets used to that, you know, I guess it depends on the person, you know, because you know, my wife deals with the opposite issue, but I think for me it's so much easier to eat more than it is to eat less, if, you know, given my free reign. I think it's much easier to go in the more than the less direction. I think that's true for most people. I have made potentially a major mistake here taking number 1, but it'll be fun. If Azazel lets us get our Zane quotient, or as I call him, a Zanezel, then I'm a happy man. One second, I got a weird instance open on my taskbar. What is this? Oh, it's my PC. I thought you were trying to tell me, PC, that you have negative 392 megabytes free. Yeah, I know the C drive is starting to fill up. That's because I got a bunch of like high-res X-Plane airports in my downloads folder. So sue me. I wanted to be able to travel the West Coast using photorealistic airports. If that's a problem, well then I don't want to be part of the solution. What I do in my personal time is nobody's business but mine, my wife's, my family's, the thousands of people who watch these episodes on a daily basis. It's nobody's business but ours, okay? I haven't actually been playing that much X-Plane. It's got, again, all good habits, you know, they fall by the wayside. Is X-Plane a good habit? Here's the thing. If I had a child and they were 15 years old and I found like a HOTUS under their bed, I would hug them and I would be like, you are my son. Don't be ashamed. I'll buy you some rudder pedals so you can do it safely at home. I'll be your co-pilot. We can do a transatlantic flight, which legally the FAA requires there to be at least 2 or 3 pilots, and then one pilot takes a snooze halfway through. This Vibrant Bulb doesn't work immediately, but we're gonna hold it. Because if we get any spacebar item, it's an all stats up. Even if it's a trash spacebar item, we can just hold it. The only thing that's dangerous on an Azazel run is Hush. Which means I would actually love, well, Hush and obviously Void, but if I could fight Hush, I would actually like to. Because it adds a little bit of, you know, tension onto the run. I think it is worth it. That's not Zane. That's just genuine worth. I have to think about this. I think what we do is we don't get too cocky, and we use... Ah, yes. I think we use the nail immediately. And then when we're at full hearts, which could easily happen, that's when we can accept our all stats upgrades. We're gonna go like HP is most important, or at least like some HP is most important. Then we'll worry about all stats in it. All stats Lorraine. Sorry, you have to forgive me, I've been reading, well, I've been listening. I'm not trying to act like I'm well read, okay? I'm not trying to put on airs, but I just think when you listen to an audiobook, I think reading is an acceptable, that's the term you should use. Are you reading? No. Is it a book? Yes. Now, if you're watching a movie based on a book, is that reading? No. You know why? Because it's adapted for the screen. Most audiobooks are like unabridged. You may disagree with me in this. I'm open to interpretation. I think it's so weird. Reading is like a leisure activity. But if anybody goes like, oh, I'm reading this book, and you go, reading or listening to the audiobook? They go, oh, audiobook. You go, oh, okay. Well, that's not really reading. Hey, jerk off. Maybe they don't live in a society where when you say you're reading something, that means you're bragging. Maybe they're just trying to use shorthand to make everybody's life easier. I don't understand why you're being the weird one about it. Oh, dude. Contagion, absolutely. But yeah, I've been reading from an auditory standpoint. The rise and fall of the Third Reich, you know, so the Alsace-Lorraines are right up in the frontal lobe. It's like I fall asleep to that. Some of history's greatest atrocities, but also some of its most, fascinating recent history. You know, that's why, like, I'm just pinballing here, bit to bit, right, at this point. But I was talking about, I think it was in Corey's chat. I don't think it's worth paying 3 hearts for an upgrade to... Yeah. I don't care if we lose the Eternal Heart here. I don't think it's worth 3 hearts to upgrade the nail to Satanic Bible. If we get the deal with the devil and our HP looks amazing when we get there, then sure, maybe. But I was talking about it in Corey's chat, and we were talking about history. And not everybody likes history, and I'm not a historian, but I always have liked history. Right now, you know, I listen to history podcasts and audiobooks pretty much exclusively. That and, like, Netflix true crime stuff. And then in high school, I loved history. You know, I took history, well, I took it 11th and 10th grade when you only had to take it 10th. And I should have taken it 12th grade, but instead I was like, I'm going to be a scientist, so I'll take all the sciencey classes. Which was also, you know, I mean, it didn't serve me poorly. I did end up going to college for science, but I kind of think that from an enrichment standpoint, I would have been better off taking one of the history classes instead. But anyway, by the way, our school did not offer a whole lot. I know you're like, what kind of history did you have the option to take? Nah, it's history. That's it. You know, my school had, in 10th grade, Canadian history. It's a provincial requirement. In 11th grade, world history through to, like, I don't know, the year 500 or something like that. And then from that point, if you took it in 12th grade, it was like the medieval era to, I guess, like, close to the modern day. Probably like till the Industrial Revolution or something. But here's my question for people that don't like history. People that are like, you know, I can't follow it, I don't find it interesting, etc., etc. I don't buy any of that, like, oh, if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. You know, I think that's a truism that is not necessarily true at all. We shouldn't have taken the HP if we were going to go for it, so I think we just leave. Don't you ever look at a map, if you don't know history, and go like, hey, why are there like 5,000 countries in Europe? And I know that's not literal, spare me. You know, you ever wonder why the border between Canada and America is here? You ever wonder, oh, absolutely. You know, what's going on with Hong Kong? This is Jerry Seinfeld now. Is it English? Is it Chinese? I don't know. How about you take it for 100 years? I'll take it for 100 years, and then they can choose who they like better. I don't think that's really how it works. I'm just saying, you know, like, history is basically like you were born into a world. You were born in a world, we were born into this world, and they go, hey, here's the map, here's the way it is. You know, like, Singapore's here, Bhutan is here, Tibet's here, blah, blah, blah. And then the way you answer why is you take a history class, and then you go, oh, okay, I mean, it's still confusing. I couldn't tell you what I was talking about it the other day. It was like, I know, just off the top of my head at least, I was like, I know nothing about the history of Vietnam. Here's what I know about the history of Vietnam and Southeast Asia. France was there. They colonized it. And that's why banh mi's are served on baguettes. You want to leave? You guys can go if you want to go. You don't have to fight each other to leave. You can just leave in an orderly fashion. You as well. Do you want to? Please? Hurry. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And then, you know, I know a decent amount about the Vietnam War. And then that's basically it. That's my knowledge of Vietnam. Pretty much like the same amount of knowledge I have about, like, Thailand. Probably the same amount of knowledge that most people have about Korea, unless they love, you know, esports or K-pop. In which case, that's the first thing they're going to bring up. And that's fair, you know, you can't know everything about every country. But I was like, man, I know nothing about, like, the history of, like, why historically Vietnam, wow. Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand are all in such close geographic proximity, yet they all have their own language. Cambodia and Thailand, at least superficially, because I don't speak either, in case you're wondering. Probably is readily apparent by my ignorance here. But Cambodia and Thailand seem more closely related linguistically, and Vietnam is kind of like its own thing. What's up with that? By the way, some people are going to take this as a, you know, like, NL, that's ignorant. Yes, I know. And I'm trying to overcome that ignorance by asking a question to shine a light on the ignorance and learn something myself. Maybe that's what I'll do. I mean, I gotta cook after I record this, and then I gotta, you know, not record, but set my YouTube videos for tomorrow and export a couple VODs from Twitch. But after that, if I remember, you have my word, I'm gonna at least do like a cursory Wikipedia glance and be like, what's the history of these three countries? What's their relationship with each other? Maybe I'll learn something in the process. I'm not afraid of the, you know, admitting I'm ignorant about something and learning about it. Anyway, that's why, like, history is cool stories, but also it illuminates the reasons that some of the things in the world today are the way that they are. And that's what I think is really interesting about it. Because you think about it, you're like, you know, oh, why, you know, 200 years ago, well, let's even say like 150 years ago, when people thought about Austria, they were like, this is one of the most powerful countries on earth. You know, they've ruled Europe with a dynasty that's lasted for like generation after generation. And now, if you ask the average person in North America, because we get a different historical education than Europeans do, is more focused on North America, which makes sense. And you were like, hey, tell me everything you know about Austria. Probably like 50% of people would go, yeah, my name is Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, and then like the other 50% of people would be like, throw a shrimp on the Barbie. And if you're from Austria, I want you to know, trust me, as an oft-forgotten nation, I'm in your court, okay? I understand. We're brothers in this circumstance. But what happened? Well, the answer, you know, is more complicated than I could provide the answer to, so instead I'll just tell you to look it up because I'm worried about saying something wrong. Anyway. Now that might have been glorification of ignorance, which I never want to do. I'm here to be the nerd friend. As much as I call people nerds, I'm cool with the nerds. I'm not cool with you if you're like this, you know. Hey, Billy, and this is a story from my childhood, by the way. And I'm the nerd in this case, which is why I resent them. Hey, Billy, it's my 12th birthday, but the video store let me rent Scream 2. You want to watch it? Oh, I don't know, guys. That movie's PG-13. I heard it was really spooky. I don't want any of us to have nightmares. Fine. You can rent Home Alone 3. I was really hoping we could see the new movie Rushmore, but okay, basically, you get the idea. That's a nerd. That's like a shut up nerd, give me your lunch money situation. If you're like, oh, I was curious about, like, you know, whatever happened to Charlemagne? I wanted to learn more about Charlemagne, so I looked it up last night. I'll never be the guy who's like, wow, look at this guy learning information in his free time. Don't you know that's when you turn your brain off and go, you know, just fart into a microphone over and over? Play The Binding of Isaac for, you know, you get this, it's me again. On both ends of the making fun of here. But yeah, never. Here's the thing. Reading Wikipedia is fun. It's like school junk food. You get educational sustenance, and you get trace nutrients of real information, but like, it's not as laborious as reading like a real history is. Like, you just get the exciting stuff most of the time. I know that sounds ignorant, but I'm really just saying, you know, I think most people are like, this guy reads Wikipedia in his spare time, what a nerd, when really it's more like something catches my interest, and then it's like junk food, junk food, junk food, snack, 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 and all of a sudden you're on, you know, Pablo Picasso had syphilis. It's TMZ. Anyway, get me out of here. I didn't want that. We have not been to the item room, but that's fine, because we are going to go to the item room. This run is so good. Already killed you. What do you got for me? A range upgrade would be nice. It's a bit of a stretch. The moon. Anyway, I've talked about many things. I didn't really... do you ever wonder, and this might be kind of a ridiculous statement, But I often have thought about this. You know, we ask kids, and I'm going to start here when I think most people will agree with me, and then I'll attempt to twist it to trick you into thinking that you believe with me in just a moment. You know, we always ask kids what I feel is the dumbest question. And if you ask this as an adult, I want you to, well, you know, just re-examine why you're asking it. Is it out of inertia or what? Because here's the thing. I think that the question, what is your favorite color, is just about the dumbest question on planet Earth. I remember, specifically, as one of my earliest memories, I was watching a television program for children as a child, and before the commercial break, they were like, what's your favorite color? Red, blue, or green? And then they were like, we'll be back with a response to this poll. And in my head, I was like, I don't know, red? For no reason whatsoever. And then when they came back from the poll, they were like, 45% blue, 31% red, and the remainder green. And I was like, frig off. Red is the best. Like, it's just, I didn't even have any attachment to red as a color. But then for the next, you know, I mean, when do you stop getting asked what your favorite color is? Sometimes even you'll be like 15, and your teacher in your English class will be like, okay, everybody pair up, and you're gonna do an interview with your next door neighbor at your desk. And first question, what's your favorite color? And you're like, I really have to ask? Like, were this 500 years ago, I would be a Spartan warrior. And now I'm like, what's your favorite color? Anyway, I don't long for those days, because I would have been thrown off a mountain. I'm just saying, like, some of us would have been. And I hate this as a question, because it just, I thought about it once when I was a child. Might as well, right? And then from that point onwards, every time people ask me what my favorite color is, I never thought about it again. I just said red over and over and over. And I think it happens with food a lot, too. People are like, what's your favorite food? And they're like, 8. And they say, pizza. And then when they're 20, they eat like a beautiful ribeye steak. They love it. They go, this is amazing. And then the next time somebody asks them what their favorite food is, they go, what do I always say? Oh, pizza, that's right. That being said, it might be my favorite food. Hello, Tomo. Welcome back. Would you like to be up on the desk with the royalty? Tomo? 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 You want to take the elevator? Here you go. Here comes the elevator. Going up, sir. Second floor, Tomo's box. There you go. Anyway, I think that's what we do with subjects in school as well, to some extent. You know, when we ask kids, what's your favorite subject in school? What's your least favorite subject in school? I think, to some extent, we're kind of priming kids to dislike mathematics. They always go, my favorite subject is English. What's your least favorite subject? Math. I'm not saying you can't have a good subject and a bad subject, subjects that you're better in. But is it that you actually, like, dislike math? Or is it that you dislike getting a B, and in English class you're getting A's, and math you're getting B's? You know? Is it the duty of the mathematics that's annoying you? And it cuts the same way. Like, I had friends that were very, you know, STEM-minded people, and they would always be like, I hate English class. And I'm like, do you? Because, like, I don't know. I was not the smartest person in my school, but I kind of liked every class. For the most part. Even gym, you know? I think it's like playing an incremental video game, you know? There's like, they give you a task. They're like, run 20 laps. And I'm like, yes, sir. And on lap 9, I'm like, oh, this sucks. The lap 19, I'm like, this is amazing. I'm gonna do it and get praise. Maybe I'm off base in that one, though. Kind of spinning my wheels on that one. But I'm just saying, history gets a bad rap. The number one thing people use to insult history is, like, to assume that, like, every history test, or, like, if you don't like history, they always go, it's the result of a bad teacher. It just made you memorize dates. I don't know, maybe. I had to memorize some dates that were important, you know, in my history class. But I still liked it. I mean, I guess it depends on what you think is important. Do you think it's important, you know, to understand, you know, the world today? To know the years in which World War I and World War II took place? I think it kind of is, if you want to know what people are talking about. Like if I said, you know, my grandfather was a shoemaker in the 1950s, you'd be like, checks out. If I said my grandfather was a shoemaker in the 1940s, you would be like, what? Wasn't he busy doing something else? I mean, I understand it ended in 1945. I'm just saying. I think sometimes memorizing dates is important. It's not just like a shorthand memorization thing. It's the same, you know, it helps with context. It's the same for movies, you know? Not to a lesser extent of importance, but, you know, the reason I think that I, for at least like 15 years of movies, have like a pretty good bead in my head on when they came out is because they feed into other movies, you know? Like, obviously, John Wick 2 is not coming out before John Wick 1, but if you're like, what came out first? Scary Movie or The Matrix? What do you think came out first? Scary Movie or The Matrix? Don't cheat. Give me your answer right now. I'll tell you. Scary Movie came out in the year 2000, which was after The Matrix. There's a very easy way to know that. It has a Matrix parody in it. As did every movie for about a year and a half after the release of The Matrix. Why is this important? Look, I don't know. I'm just spitballing. Take me out of here. I like a good Azazel run. Wait, I said I was going to fight Hush, didn't I? You know what? That one, most of the time, I spin you a yarn. I go, well, we can't fight Hush because we got 9 lives. It'll be a delicate situation. And most of the time, I actually believe it. You know? Like, this is a bit of a unique 9 lives situation because we, totally forgot we had Pyromaniac, by the way. This is a bit of a unique 9 lives situation in that, we have just a ridiculous amount of HP. So, we really have, like, an infinite number of lives. This time, I'll just tell you straight up, I forgot. And I think it has taken away very little from the the enjoyment of the run. Especially from the runner's perspective. Oh, well. So this is going to be another, like, quickish run here, but it's fun. I'm still working out the Keeper existential dread. And I'm feeling good to be rebuilding. Dude, what is this? Friend zone. They reworked that icon recently, and this will be distant admiration. And then we got Beelzebub, 1 fly item away. Anyway, it's well-trodden territory. Math was never my favorite subject in school. But I'm just saying, like, because the same thing happens with computer programming. People look at one sentence and they go like, console.writeLine, what is that? Programming's hard. And you're like, well, you know, yeah, if you're just like looking at it and trying to figure out what it means for yourself and you have no previous understanding or context for what it is, yeah, it's like, it's hieroglyphics, of course. It's the same way I feel when I like look at drawings people make and I go, how did you do that? And they're like, it's, you know, I just worked hard, I guess. And I'm like, whoa, you mean natural talent? And they're like, no, you know, I practiced for like, you know, thousands of hours. And I'm like, boy, I wish I could draw like that. And they're like, you could if you just like, you know, if you studied. There's like some really good books you could pick up. But mostly like you just got to spend a lot of time with like the pen in hand and then like drawing very consciously so that you could like improve. Oh, I wish I was born with all the natural talent to immediately pick up a pen and make something that looks as beautiful as that. How did you do it? No, but I mean like, how did you do it for the least amount of work? But I want to make the drawing. I don't want to go through all the nerdy stuff. That sounds like homework, you know, and I'm not about that kind of lifestyle. I was just hoping like I could plug a chip into my head and then wake up and draw really well. Like, is that so much to ask? I mean, The Matrix came out 18 years ago. 19 years ago. Thought we would have it by now. You ever think about how messed up it would be? Like, if they had the Matrix thing where you could really learn Kung Fu by just sitting down in a chair for 5 seconds? Because I think for a year, it would be amazing. Everybody would learn every language. Everyone would know every martial art. Everyone could fly an SR-71 Blackbird, you know? And then, after that, the world would be the coldest and scariest place once you got used to everything. Once you got used to your new normal of knowing every skill under the planet, in order to differentiate yourself from anybody else, you would have to be the most spectacular version of that had ever been seen in history. It would be, I mean, the Olympics would be amazing to watch, but I also feel like oh, you apply for a job at like the 7-Eleven. It's like, what's your, what are your skills? Well, I speak every language. I've done 45,000 simulated hours inside of the 7-Eleven simulator. I have the equivalent of a PhD in every discipline from the highest universities on earth. And they're like, yeah, so does everybody else. What else you got? And you'll be like, well, my dad owns the franchise. He'd be like, you're hired. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It's a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See ya!